Okay, I'm just going to start, and obviously anyone else that joins through. Okay, cool. So this week I think gave quite a lot of opportunities, to be honest, on both EU, GU, and AU. I'm not personally trading AU currently. I think I'm just going to stick to my typical EU, GU, but I do know there were some good trades there. I think Fred did drop some markups on them. Someone needs to mute their mic, please. Can't do it from here. Fredo, can you mute? Thanks. All right. So, right. So starting with EU, I think this was a pretty good entry. There was a really nice transition over here, which I'll go through in a minute. But see, overall, like on this H4, we are still like trended down. We haven't broke like a significant kind of high to take this higher on like a macro scale. Obviously zooming out on this perspective, yes, we're kind of sitting within this point of interest here. And we, again, still haven't hit like the kind of full fulfillment here, but we could potentially now know, taking these lows and had a relatively strong reaction, we could take this higher. But for now, I'm just going to go through this. So we hit this H4, which to me obviously is important. And, you know, it's always important to kind of just go through your like higher time frames, maybe like, you know, once a day or once every other day, just to see kind of where we're sitting on the higher. Like here, for example, obviously if you're taking an outlook on like say M15, right, and obviously you're seeing bull, you know, if you don't like kind of zoom out and just kind of have a look, then you wouldn't have obviously known that we're sitting within this like pretty prominent point of interest over here, right? We got that and that, and obviously we've got the H4 inefficiency as well, like I showed over here, right? So that's just kind of like the main thing, kind of main premise of this. And it was, oh, they're wonky. Price said like pushed up kind of like into like London, kind of like pre-London, taking, apologies, wrong one, taking this high. And then we had coming down to the micros, relatively nice kind of like transition here. I mean, personally, I wouldn't have entered on this pullback up here. It just seems a bit too aggressive in the fact that if you see how bullish it is, and then just kind of that to me is just a bit too kind of like unrealistic for taking a trade within this region here. So having stops above there, but the, oh, I'm sorry, I'm going to just change my lines because they're a bit thick for some reason. Despite obviously taking the liquidity, having this transition here, to me it's just not like I would kind of like punish myself for getting into a loss here just because it's literally still within kind of like this whole extension up here. Now you could argue, yes, it's kind of like overextended and stuff, but yes, and it's the CBOS, correct? Yeah. And I think here, even here, to be fair, is quite aggressive. And if you were going to enter on this region, which is where I would have, if I was going to enter on this, I would have still had my stops above here, because there's always the chance that, especially we didn't even take this low. There's always the chance that it could take this, mitigate something high before coming down. So I think this here would have been the best region to have your stop. Then obviously your TP, you place accordingly, either at this POI here, which would have been something on the bigger, which is still, you know, 2.6 might seem low, but it's still in less than an hour, which is brilliant. And I think the overall extension, which is an unrealistic kind of view of this, obviously, is 1 to 15. I think that was like the first kind of like pretty good trade, despite being high risk. kind of like of the week. It was obviously like early Tuesday. And yeah, OFD, I'm pretty sure. Being here. So it just kind of adds to the confluence. I guess, you could have, yeah, I think that's, did anyone get this? Because I know some people don't trade London. But I was wondering if anyone actually had this trade. It was on Tuesday morning, London. Literally entry was at London Open. You got that, yeah, nice. So I think I forgot what I was going to say now. Yeah, that was entry 1. I didn't manage to get that, annoyingly. Let me go to the continuations now. So price ran down and then ran higher. This entry I did take, which was a buy over here, and this was kind of like my mistake as well for just kind of closing early. Had this micro invalidation, sorry, this kind of like POI here with the micro invalidation here, and I didn't close early. I went to break even too early, so kind of like into London, strong move up higher, obviously just trading the continuation, and kind of like first target being this high, see kind of second overall target being this high. Entry was here, and stop was obviously below the invalidation. And on the M2, obviously you can see it on the M5 as well. Obviously just seen this like grab of these lows over here, and then a break of the high. So to me, I thought, okay, cool. Stop to be, or sorry, it wasn't in B, it was over here at this low, assuming that this was going to just potentially kind of run here and go higher. But again, took that for like a tiny loss. It was like a pip loss, so it was cut literally by 75%, so it was relatively nothing. Took that, but it didn't break the invalidation, which was again my mistake, like I mentioned before. I think Fredo was emphasizing the other day, like, there's no need to adjust your stop until you get like a full new kind of thing here. But again, the TP for me was there, and that was a 1 to 3 again, which was again is perfect. And yeah, just a bit one of those annoying mistakes that you just make sometimes, like even I do sometimes. And again, it's just like an example of like not following the rules and stuff. And if you trust your invalidation and your invalidation is correct, then there should be no reason to move it unless there's your break of this high, for example, and then once that's broken, I mean, in this case, I would have moved it to there, which is kind of nothing really, but yeah, or even here, if I wanted to trail, there's no real need, to be honest, because the TP is just there. So that was the second entry, and then there was a. Wait, has anyone got any questions about that so far? Sorry. I feel like there was so much this week, so I'm just trying to like compact it. I mean, this is pretty simple. But has anyone got any questions just before I move on? Okay, mate, no worries. Shit, guys, I'm so sorry. I just realized I was just muted. Let me just start that again. Okay, so H1, these lows were taken, and then this high was broken, right? Price retraced down, coming into this region here. And then on the M5, let's just say, where are we? Here we are. Price is obviously trending down over here. Bang, 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 bang. Unwillingness here, and then price pushes higher, breaking this. There's no real entry yet. I know there was a student of mine that was trying to sell within here, but I couldn't justify that. So I kind of wanted to wait for something, especially as well, it was kind of early in the session. So I just wanted to see whether price was going to continue going lower or if we were going to continue going higher. So this high broke, and we'd obviously taken this low here. So this to me was obviously the invalidation currently. Right? And again, it was the same thing as yesterday. Potential buy here. I didn't take this. Sorry, I think I said that when I was muted, but the TP was this high, or the M, there was an M30 POI as well. It was literally just shy of 1 to 2. Hence why I didn't take it. Just to me, wasn't, the perimeter was slightly too big for the entry. And again, it's this same kind of thing, right? With what happened the other day. As long as your invalidation is intact and it's correct and your bias is correct, it shouldn't come down to hit until this high has been taken, right? So if an entry was taken here, and then you will say scouting this on the 4 minute, 3 minute, 2 minute, etc., and you still say something like this break, then you move your stop to say this low, then again you would have just kind of lost that because you're adjusting your stop too early. So waiting for this high to break before adjusting, or if your TP is there, then that would be the correct move to go about this. And there was also something that played here as well, which I was trying to get a case study on, but I was kind of busy at the time. And there was someone who longed GU at the same time as this, right? And put their stop here. And again, because this was still intact, and this one's a lot more significant in my opinion, the best way to play this if you're going to enter here would have been to have your stop down here as well, this invalidation, right? Because bear in mind, this is the whole POI on the M5, and we all know that it can either hit the open or 50% or the 100% of the POI. So that's what happened, and then pretty much we had this play out. So we had, see, the low taken, and then this low made, and then price broke this high, which was the TP, and then invalidation was moved to here. Let's get rid of all this now. Let me go back in time. Invalidation was moved to there, right? So say if you were looking to take this longer, then you would have moved your stop from here to here, because we took the low, then we broke the high. So technically it's a new range. And what we had kind of straight after was a break of that. And there was quite an aggressive entry here, to be fair, but there was an entry right here. And this literally set up, and I did take this one actually, and I closed, let me just double check where I closed it, or where I had my TP rather. You sell line, no, it's not the one. Where is it? Oh, here we go. 812. There. I think I have my TP here. No, I did have my TP here, but I got positively slipped, which is always nice. And this is what happened. Literally at 28, which was 2 minutes before the news got entered, and then bang. And it was literally like straight down, kind of straight back up, and then we formed that new low. And there was then this high being the invalidation of sells, right? So that's why I say this is aggressive, because this can break, but it can still go lower. So the conservative kind of correct stop loss placement would have been here. But I trusted, obviously the news was coming, so I just assumed that that was going to carry on. And what we had was a failure to break that high. And then we had a conversion here. And I know some of you caught this conversion within that. It's very messy. I'm just going to try and zoom in and show you. But there was this, right? I don't have the second, so apologies for that. There was low, high, low, high, low broken, entry, and then correct stop would have been here or here, and an aggressive stop would have been here. I would have put that there as an aggressive stop, just to be on the safe side. First TP being this low, which literally got hit within a matter of, yeah, as long as that. 3 minutes or 4 minutes, 2.3% in that amount of time. I didn't take that just because I didn't want to. I don't personally like trading in something like this, personally. I mean, I was saying the other day that no matter if something's valid, like if I'm not feeling comfortable in taking it, then I'm not going to risk it, because if I'm not comfortable, it's for a reason. And I've just having my rules that I don't just trade in like choppy stuff like this. So if you did take this, well done. Yes, it is valid, but just to me, it just didn't sit right for me to take. So I didn't take that. But yeah, first TP here. And then there was Eddie in the group mentioned that this low was probably going to get taken, which it ended up doing, but this would be your kind of overall extended target, which it did end up hitting. Sorry, Alex, I couldn't hear this part. Is my audio bad? Apologies for this. Yeah, go for it. Oh no, I need to talk about this one as well. Sorry. Right, go on, draw again. Because I see a lot of guys taking sells here. In here, yeah? Yeah. Oh, sorry, I didn't see the top bit. What would validate sells in this case? The break of this invalidation right here, right? That shifted the bias. And then if price then broke this high, that would then obviously be like this, which then price would have potentially continued higher. Bear in mind, we had the higher time frame POI here as well, which it mitigated. And then there was the smaller time transitions in here, which I was marking out with the blue circle. Sorry, I don't have the seconds, which should probably be a bit clearer. That's why I tried to mark it with the circles. Does that make sense? But like I said to you, I don't like trading in chop, right? And there was a transition there, but again, it's just not in my kind of like comfort to do that. And then here, which I'm very gutted I didn't see, right? Because I was monitoring, I was just monitoring the M5. So I didn't manage to see anything here, and I didn't want to take this directly off that, but I didn't go to the M1, and there was a beautiful candle up here, right? So this candle. Oh, sorry, let me start from. So we were trading down, we took this low, price then traded up, traded down. So it took that low, created a high, and then the SC came up, took this high, filled inefficiency, you could argue as well, and then broke this low here. And this was a like outstanding trade in my opinion. I'm just really gutted I didn't see it, because this is like super textbook. And then hit, bang, reaction. And I was also once this low broke, I was waiting for this. Sorry, and let me just put the P&L on it. Extended lows here. I was also waiting for that, and we literally missed it by a pip and a half, which was kind of sad. And this just then continued lower and lower and lower and lower, and ended up hitting TP over there. So it was a shame, but I think that was like ultra textbook. And again, it's just one of those trades. I think Fredo mentioned in one of the other Zooms that it's just like quite hard to lose this, to be honest. But yeah, very gutted I didn't see that. I didn't scale down far enough. But again, can't win them all. And yeah, that was, so yeah, obviously there was a lot of opportunities. There was one here, there was one here, there was a potential buy here, which did hit TP, and the sell within there as well, which was aggressive. So I took the sell in there, and I took the buy wherever it was, back on the left. And yeah, I mean, that's like 5 or 6 opportunities within one day. Obviously, I'm not saying you're going to get them all, right? That's why you have rules and protocols in place to tell you when to stop, when you win X amount of trades, when you lose X amount of trades, when you've taken X amount of trades, etc. And yeah, now today I got into, where is it? Hold on, let me just find it. I've got it stashed somewhere. I will reshare. Give me 1 second. Right. Can't find it. I'm not going to waste my time doing that. So I managed to, so a lot of the time I find, right, in London, coming up to New York, when there is continuation like this, it just doesn't stop until New York hits. And if a POI is hit or liquidity is taken, then obviously that's when we start getting some transitions, or we start seeing lower lows, or if it's on the flip side, we start seeing higher highs. So with that, obviously I was just trading along and monitoring just for longs coming up into here, right? Trying to find the first, so the one I took was up here, which I'll show in a minute, which was in this region. There. I also took one lower, I'm pretty sure. Stops at the micro invalidation over here. And the TP hit, which was this high. Same thing, right? Don't move your stop. Let me talk about that in a minute. Hold on. Just trying to find. Oh no, I didn't take it. Sorry. Right. So this was trending up, as I mentioned, and on the M5, I was awaiting this candle here. Again, kind of my mistake for not scaling lower. But I wanted, because obviously we'd seen that these lows had broken, and they are literally dead on equal lows. Then we had a mini transition over here, and then price carried on trading back up, breaking this high, etc. And that's why I was waiting for that, right? That's the bias. And then M1, we had this POI, which was respected instead of the M5, invalidation being there. And then price ran higher. So I didn't manage to get into that, unfortunately. So yeah, price carried on trading up and up and up. And that's when I managed to get into this one. Let's close the Discord. Right. Same thing again. Break of the low, push higher. POI created, push higher. Entry in here. Didn't put my stops here because this has more of a characteristics of the invalidation. So I might stop there. Price pushed up, pushed down, pushed higher, and then push lower again. Same, literally the exact same thing that I've showed you in the past like 2 trades on the longs, on the continuations. Don't move stop too early. Came up, pushed down, and then on news, which was 45 minutes ago, came into TP, and then it ran, right? So now it's going to be interesting to see where EU does go. If I'm looking for longs, then obviously I'd prefer this to break. But now this to me, if I get rid of all this now, it's just a bit confusing currently, because we had this grab, we had this mitigation, and again, it's the same thing for me. I don't like to trade in something like this, right? Because technically, we are within here and here, and it's Friday afternoon. Again, it's not like the best time of the week to trade personally. I mean, there probably will be opportunities, but it's just not for me. So that's where I'm currently sitting right now. But yeah, that was everything of kind of value, if you like, that I saw this week. And I think there was a strong emphasis on the whole kind of like C over R concept. Let me draw. For some reason it's really lagging now. So yeah, I think that's everything. GU, don't know if I went through GU. Has anyone got any questions, by the way, or is that all good for everyone? Yeah, I didn't take anything on GU. Yeah, sure, go for it. Oh, that's you. Sorry, I didn't even realize it was you, Valentin. Yeah, sorry. In your GU, this was something. This is something I was trying to speak about earlier. Sorry, before you ask your question, I'm trying to remember where it was. If I just go to the Discord, hold on. I will share. I know it's not sharing right now. Because you were asking yesterday about your stop. Hold on, I'm just going to find it. Yesterday at... Yeah, all right, here we go. Oh, I think... Can you guys see the Discord on my thing? Yeah, you can see it, right? Yeah, all right, okay, cool. Sorry. Yeah, so you had your stop here at that low, but I chose this as the invalidation because I think if I'm not wrong, all of these lows got taken apart from that, and then it ran. See if we go over here, see this low, right? That's where I said that I'd put my invalidation. And what time was it? It was yesterday about at 12, right? On GU. Oh, fuck. 15. Yesterday at 12. Oh, I didn't run too high, but it did push up there. And then as soon as that broke, price fell, right? So you go to the M3 so we can see it a bit clearer. So that was there, right? Instead of obviously having it just that kind of like micro low there. And then it did push up. I'm not sure where you put your TP, but that's all clear from now with the invalid. Okay, yeah, that's good. But yeah, as soon as that broke, bang, and then died. All right, EURUSD H1. Oh, I'm on FXCM right now. Get rid of that. Okay. Yep. Yep. So is your question going to be why did I long? Why would I've tried to long there? But then I was not sure if price will continue lower. From there, if I had no visible confirmation. Isn't this your visible confirmation? And then this high being taken, followed by this invalidation low being taken, then that validated sells. I know some people sold here, but that's not. Well, did anyone sell directly after that break? I mean, even here as well. I guess you could say that after that break. I don't know if that answers your question, but are you saying what validated sells here? Is that what you're asking? Any times I get my direction wrong. Well, that's something like I think Fred always fucking drills this in. It's like if you need to get that right before. So do you understand the whole kind of premise on why sells were validated eventually here and we had this big drop coming into this low? Do you understand that or not? If not, again, I'll just walk you through that. Do you know, I understand only after this. Okay, cool. You only understand after that? What do you understand now? I've explained this. Right. Notice how price pushed up, pushed back lower, breaking this low, right? So technically it's an LG, and then price then pushes higher, mitigates this point of interest. Let me just get rid of that. Hits that. And then obviously I'm not just going to directly enter off of this blindly. I'd want to see something on the lowers to get a more precise entry, which obviously occurred once these highs were taken and that broke. Price pulled up. We had the transition here on the lowers, which I spoke about. And then that's where you could have got your sell, right? And if you're wrong, your stop is at the invalidation, which means if the invalidation breaks, then this should continue going higher. That's why you have your stop there, because it stops you losing out on way more when your invalidation breaks. But you're relatively, I think, like, basically, because obviously I do monitor the chat quite a bit, and I think you are making some improvements, but you just got to keep putting in the work. Is that a bit clearer? No, bro. Don't be sorry. Honestly, it's fine. The whole point of this is so you're clear on, you know, what you're not sure about. There's no point joining. There's no point joining the Zooms, having something to ask a question about, and then not ask it, because then you're wasting your time because you're not learning, right? It's all good, man. Don't worry. Yeah. Again, this is just messy. Like we're just kind of stuck within here and here. So I'd rather wait for some kind of direction. But yeah, anyway, right. Has anyone got any cues or queries? Look at BTC, what are we saying on that? It's a bit more interesting now. I wonder if we can get this. Still want these numbers. I'm not buying. I refuse to buy any crypto until BTC comes down to here at least. And if I miss out, I miss out. This is just not discount enough for me, personally. What's everyone's thought? Does anyone else in here actually track this, or any other crypto? Because I know I did see some people in the RCV group talking about BTC coming to like 12, which if it does, then that's great. That honestly, I was waiting here, right? And I was waiting for this low to break. Fucking hell. I was waiting for that to break because I saw if we had this and then this, that's what I would have wanted to see, but we never managed to get that, and then we just carried on pushing higher. But now we've taken this high, which is super important, and then taken this low, which is also relatively important. Now I'm hoping we can get some bearish movement finally. Take out all the buyers that have bought in from the BTC ETF approval, the spot Bitcoin approval. If you don't know much about that, I'd definitely just read up on it if you're interested, because obviously that's what's caused this whole kind of, fundamentally, that's what's caused this whole kind of move up. So I'm hoping now we just get rid of all of them, give us a nice little fill in here, and then do whatever after. It always happens though. Always happens. You always get a bearish move after a positive injection of news, and the opposite when you get a negative injection of news. Yeah, I don't think anyone here, but the lack of replies follows this. So, but yeah, Fred, I'm not sure if you wanted to go over anything. If not, then I'm done on my end. Yeah. Okay, cool. All right, then. Yeah, cool. If no one's got any questions, then I'll pass it over to Alfredo. All good, my friend. No worries. That's what we're here for. Yeah, I'll pass it over to Alfredo, and if something comes to mind, drop me a DM on Discord or anything like that. No worries. But Fred, don't go yet, because Fredo's going to go over his stuff. Right, your host, Fredo. I'm good to. Are you recording on your end?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, cool. So I'm good to leave, yeah, because I need to shoot.
Yeah, no worries.
Cheers, bro. Right, cool. See you later, guys. Have a good weekend.
All right, cool. How's everybody doing? Chill, bro. Chill. Yeah, I hate doing early morning Zooms, man. I hate it. Like, I like to be up for at least like 2 hours, 3 hours, and then okay, I'm functioning fully now. Like, let's get it. But yeah, let me go ahead and show you. what we are doing. So since we're already recording, hold on, let me just make sure I'm recording. Okay, we're still recording. Good, thank you. Yeah, man, yeah, it's cool, man. But let's see. So I guess we'll start off with like the only, I guess, loss that I'm going to go over today. Yeah, like for right now it's 8:30 for me. Like right now is like a cool time. Like I wouldn't mind doing a Zoom right now. But like an hour ago, like no. Like like I'm barely waking up. Like I've even noticed it in my personal trading where I kind of don't even take trades now in between. Like my trading period is 7 to 11, right? So if my trading period is 7 to 11, then um I usually don't take trades the first 30 minutes, at least until the full New York Open. I've just noticed that I take a lot of losses there, and if I'm being honest, it's probably because I'm not fully awake yet. I wake up like around 6:15, 6:30, and I don't like waking up before that just because then it's I want to at least get 6, 7 hours of sleep every day. But first we'll go over this, then I'll go over all the other case studies. So this was something that I'm always kind of something I've been really emphasizing right now, and I guess we can kind of dive into it is what is the difference between backtesting and stress testing? All right, who can tell me the difference in the simplest way possible? How would you describe each though? Maybe not the difference. How would you describe each? Sure. Backtesting is using previous data to create your models. Stress testing is actually implementing those models. Yeah, that's true. Let's see if somebody can do something better than that. Stress is real. Okay, yeah, I guess we'll just put it like that. Backtesting is simply learning your rules and you're wanting to use previous data to justify why these rules are correct. And if you do that over a long series of um, case studies or entries or however you want to structure that, then that's what makes something, a valid rule, right? And how much should the sample size be? Well, if you were to ask me, it's like this is what I do when people ask me about models. It's like if you want to trade a trading model, you should have at least 25 to 50 examples. Honestly, probably make that at least 50 examples. If you have 50 examples of the same scenario playing out, then that means that it's more than likely effective. And if you can then get the direction right, then realistically you can still catch a favorable outcome. As long as the direction is right, the model is in play, then more than likely you'll get at least a reaction, and that's kind of what we want. Um, so when it comes to back testing, it's just simply looking back, seeing what exactly happened, what kind of patterns am I trying to trade? Because let's be real, guys, I see all over social media that pattern trading, like it's pretty much shamed upon. But I'm like, yo, everything that anybody is trading is a model. I mean, it's a pattern, right? Like, of course, there's increased complexity to it. If you want to talk, hey, there is the technical side, which is the models, which is like SD order flow disruption and LGC, liquidity graph continuation, right? That's more of the technical side. You can add dimension to it if you say, oh, okay, well, I'm only going to take these three trades during the New York session, which my kill zone would be, like I said before, 7 to 11 a.m. my time, CST. All right, then that is still a pattern, even if you've added complexity to it. And then, okay, let's say if I want to find my bias, then I now want to only take a bias or I only want to formulate a bias when liquidity is taken, and it's in within my trading hours, and I've now seen an internal model that follows my plan, then that is still a pattern, right? It's still a sequence, right? It just has more complexity to it. So we have to pretty much find these types of patterns, these types of sequences, and make them favorable based on what we can control, which is our risk and our execution, right? Um, so coming back to the original argument of backtesting, stress testing, backtesting, you only want to validate your rules. Stress testing, you want to test them in real time, right? Because if they do work in previous data, then they more than likely will work in future data. You just have to find those internal details that you can only find by trading live, right? Like for example, you can say that an LGC model works 60 to 70% of the time when you're backtesting. When you're stress testing, maybe it's 20, 30, 40%. And that could be due to the fact that you're trying to assume that external direction will shift with an internal conversion rather than trying to follow the external trend on an internal conversion, right? Hopefully that's not confusing, but it's these little details like, oh, maybe there's a reaction or maybe my TP is hit before my entry. Like there's so minor details that you have to catch on, and that I can't really teach you. It's kind of impossible for me to teach you that. Just because you have to put in the time, you have to get your market IQ up, you have to get your market experience up, you have to, X and X and X and X, right? And that I can't teach you. I can only teach you what exactly I use, how do I use it? Okay, how do you implement it? So coming into the stress testing side of back testing, then that is more so testing things in real time. And if you're testing things in real time, right, then I like to do something called running drills. Like there's pretty much three types of reviews that I do today, and if it's my back testing entries, which is okay after the trading day, I go to my pairs, or I'll even expand to other pairs sometimes. Like yesterday, I was looking at the S&P because I do want to add the S&P over the next couple of months, and I also looked into GU, right, seeing if there's any models in play there that happened during my specified hours. Even if it's not in my specified hours, oh, this happened, right? Because let's not forget that none of these rules are absolute, right? Just because you see a model in Asia does not mean that it's not going to work, all right? But I'm only trying to stick to my specific perimeters, right? So that I'm kind of just like not always glued to the charts, right? Like that's kind of why I stopped swinging as well. I just don't want to be stuck on the charts, checking trading view every couple of hours, and it's so much anxiety, so much stress, and we can come back to that too. But I kind of talked about that a bit on Twitter, but we'll come back to that. Let's see. So back to the stress testing part, I like to run drills. I just like to test things out, see if they work out, right? Like this is something I had with AU. This was like pretty much the only main loss I had this week with my running drills, with my drills, sorry. And as you can see, all right, price came into the POI. POI came into react. We then got a reaction, but we did not break the internal structure, because if the internal structure would have been broken, right, then this is my protocol to then move my, I'm taking this position, right? And I'm aiming for equal lows here, right, which probably will be hit next week, if I'm being honest. At this point, I just don't like how choppy it is, but I think this will be hit eventually. But like I tell you guys, I don't necessarily like to use liquidity as something that influences my bias. Only if it's already been swept. Like for example, if liquidity has been swept, then potentially a model's in play. But if liquidity is pending, then I can't assume the timing of when this liquidity is going to be taken. So I don't let liquidity influence my bias. I let it just be there as a target if my bias fits it, right? And an example of that would be the AU trades I'm going to review in a bit, where after liquidity was swept, right, after the transition was there, then I was able to capitalize on the move after that, right? Not liquidity pending, liquidity swept, right? So with this scenario, right, I'm aiming for equal lows. I wanted to see if this could hit overnight. But as you can see, my internal structure was not broken. Internal structure was not broken. But if this was to have broken, then my invalidation moves. Who can tell me where my invalidation moves? Anyone? Where would my SL move if this red line would have been broken? What? No, 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 no. No, no, no. Hold on. Bro, this is not happened yet. This has not happened yet. Do I move it to break even? above the LG, exactly. I wouldn't move it to break even. I would move it to the invalidation point, which is here. So now, right, my SL is, well, in theory, it's 3.7 pips rather than it being 9 pips, right? So 9 pips divided by 3 point, let's say 3.5-ish pips. 3.7, okay. 3.7 divided by 9, right? That means that my risk is now from a 1%. Let's say I did a 1% risk perimeter. That 1% risk perimeter is now turned into 0.4% risk, right? So I've minimized my risk. The return is still potentially there, right? But I could also kind of trail this if I was trading this live, mainly because it's a bit hard to manage your trades because of how, in my opinion, how inconsistent it could be. Sometimes you manage your trade a bit too early, and then you end up not catching the trade that you would have wanted, right? Because in hindsight, right? In hindsight, I could have. I'll just use annotations, right? I could have, right, broken even here. We come into this POI. Once this POI hits, then there's obviously a POI, and then once there's disruption, then I could have closed, right? And in hindsight, that would have worked out, right? And the reason why that would have worked out, then I bet to hit the work. Shoot the call. Have a good weekend. Have a good weekend, man. But the reason why that could have worked is because this impulse then led after the OFD, and this also means that there is unwillingness after, right, the order flow disruption, right? And that would have been the hindsight scenario. But, right, if I'm also looking at this from the other perspective, right, then realistically, we could have had a LGC, and this could have continued lower, right? So at the time, it's very hard to question when to move your when to manage your trade, which is why I'm kind of more so just all on the intraday scenarios, and I try to be full volume, and I don't like to take partials. I don't really like to move my invalidations unless there's like a clear structural range, which in some of the examples today we will cover that. But it is a bit difficult to manage your trade, right? So I just let it play out. That's why I say if the direction is right, then eventually your target's gonna hit, right? It's just now a matter of whether or not you got the timing correct or not. So in the end, this ended up, right? This would have been a full, it was a full loss, but it could have been, right, less than half of the loss if the break-even perimeter would have taken. So, right, if I am to create a rule that would justify this kind of thing, right, is rather than, right, if we see the OFD, rather than completely closing, we could really just move, right, the original invalidation into the previous high because we are now anticipating that this could be unwillingness. That's the only rule that could make sense to me in real time. And who knows, maybe I can implement it from here on. So if there's internal unwillingness, then maybe I could just move my SL into the immediate invalidation, right? And then from there, kind of just, see what happens, right? Because I could also, right, if there is the OFD and then we see an LGC and there's unwillingness, then I could also just trail the move and I could also just put my SL at the micro, or I wouldn't say at the micro, at the scalp high that was created after the potential LGC. And if that doesn't play out, then I know that my bias is wrong. And at least I would have secured, 1 second. And at least I would have secured 0.6R after commissions, maybe a 0.5R, right? At least I would have secured something. So when you're making these rules, try to make it benefit you in the best way possible. That's kind of just what I'm trying to get at here. But either way, this scenario was loss, whatever, right? I didn't take it. It's an Asia session move. I don't really take Asia session moves. But this would have been, I think, the only drill that I took this week, I believe, that lost. Because yeah, right now direction's a bit unclear. There's equal highs, so I wouldn't justify the sell. But yeah, I don't like how this ended up in this week. It's so choppy. Right, because today is the 26th. Yeah, so yeah, today is, I mean, this week has just been a bit sloppy. So we'll see how next week goes. But for now, I guess we'll have to just wait and see. So now I will move on to my other markups. I'm just gonna pull them all up, guys. So what I'm also trying to do in the Discord too is just kind of put overviews of everything that I'm looking at and taking, just so whenever we get on these Zooms, I could just pull all the charts up. You can just pull all the reviews up, because I hate if I'm like on the chart and I'm trying to remember what the trade was, and I'm also not trying to prep for an hour before the Zoom. So I think this is a good, small improvement that I could make. Just kind of know everything in my personal markups for you guys, and then from there, um, kind of just go over them every week on Zoom. So what is today's date? The 26th. That means the 19th was last Zoom, I believe. Okay, so okay, it's a lot of charts. Sorry guys, there's a lot of charts. Bear with me, please. Okay, almost done. Okay, so I would just follow them based on the Discord as well. Cool, so this is an EU drill I did earlier this morning, sorry, earlier on the 19th. And if we are to talk about the trade, right, let's also, something I'm also starting to realize is, for the most part, I'm not being too critical about the external direction in terms of, hey, my swing is bullish. I don't mind taking a scalp that's bearish as long as my intraday kind of sort of supports. And if there's, a justified scenario. Right, so based on this trade, right, liquidity swept right here, right? I'm not going to take this immediate sell. Why? Because the internal is technically bullish, right? So if I'm looking at this from a structure view, there's a low into the high, and this is a solidified point. That's why I'm referring to that low, right? CBOS solidifies the high. That comes into a point of interest, right? The point of interest has a reaction, right? There's now unwillingness plus order flow disruption, and that's what justifies my trade. I will say I kind of made a small mistake. I should have entered here. Right, I should have entered here and not here. I don't know why I did it. I just couldn't tell you. But I should have entered here, because you guys know that I want to make sure that I'm in the trade, and I don't want to just be perfect with my entry. I just want to make sure that I'm in the trade, and I want to make sure that the direction is correct. I want to make sure that I'm following a model so that I can reach my immediate target. All right. So and the reason why this entry here makes sense, sure. Ask me your question. The only reason why I took this is because this is the final low that broke liquidity and then broke down, right? Look at your SC rules, right? If we take liquidity and then have a semi-violent move to the downside, then there's more than likely a mitigation that is going to happen, right? So yeah, what are your questions? Sorry. Tell me your question about the other one as well, about the AU. First, tell me your question here. Yeah, sorry about that. Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, it depends, brother. Like you could say that you see that a lot of times. Okay, well, show me, because I don't know if you're talking about M1. I don't know if you're talking about M15. I don't know if you're talking about M5. I don't know if this is during London. I need more context. You can't just tell me this happens a lot. What would you do here? Like, Yeah, I need you to show me some examples, bro. It's because I kind of like I feel personally my best way to give you guys feedback is if you guys show me the chart itself. Just I think that's also what makes the journal reviews very, very good is the fact that I'm literally looking at what you're doing and I'm trying to see how I can improve that. But so I need you to show me some stuff, bro, if you can. Yeah. I need you to show like when if you guys have questions or anything, like I can't just go off of, hey, I see this low be taken and then this high be taken, like what happens or what I like that's so hard to answer. Like just think about it. It's so hard to answer because I don't know the context. I don't know what's happening. Like, you know what I mean? So yeah, if you guys have questions and stuff, just find an example or find a series of examples. Like we'll go over them on Zoom. There's no problem, you know? Or you can just send me them as journals, no problem. Sure. Uh-huh. That means that you're not bearish, bro. Simple. Does that mean that you're bullish? I don't know. There has to be a bullish model in play, but that just doesn't mean that you're not. That just means that you're not bearish anymore. Yeah. Because like you don't need to have a bias, but like for example, I can like for example with this scenario here, even if there wasn't like a sell perimeter, I could say at least this is not a buy, right? I don't know if it's a sell, but at least it's not a buy, and I think that's valuable. Cool. So next scenario, right here. What is your question here? No, sir, because the external is bearish. Right, this goes back to that example you were going over, Alex, with the direction part. With every trade, let me tell you, almost every trade, you can justify both buys and sells. That's just how it is. You can justify both buys and sells, right? Because if you go here, let's see, this is the 20th. I don't know if I still have this markup on. Sorry. Right, this is the 20th. This is where my trade was somewhere. Wait. Sorry, this is the 19th. Sorry. All right, my trade is somewhere around here. And if I look left, what do I see? Do I see bullish moves here? Like, let's not complicate this. Let's not complicate this. This is bearish. Sorry. This is bearish. So I need to look for opportunities to fit that to an extent, right? That's why if I'm looking at a scalp transition like I was here, then I aim for a scalp target. It doesn't make sense for me to look for a scalp transition and aim for the low, right? Because I don't know if excuse me, if the intraday is going to support that. I don't know, right? Because obviously from the external, I would say maybe the major intraday, the swing, major intraday or swing, sorry, they're not the same. I'm bearish, but the minor intraday is bullish, right? And the minor intraday still hasn't been taken. So I see a scalp model here, right? I don't want to be greedy and look for the low because the internal is still bullish. So I know that the scalp model here is going to, at the bare minimum, get me this target. Why? Because if we go back to the other chart, um, right? This is the cause. This is the effect, right? This is what is happening, and this is the result that is going to happen based on what is happening here, right? Cause and effect, right? I don't know if this will go lower because I've told you guys this over the years for so long is after liquidity is taken, we have no idea what's going to happen. So let's just aim for the liquidity. It's just that's what's in my control, right? Like I can find the cause and the effect is here, right? So does that make sense? What do you mean? Yes, bro, but what is the external direction? What is the external? I just showed you what the external is. What is the external? What has this been for the span of this whole year? This has been bearish, right? And I'm not looking for reversals, right? Like it's even stated here. Like, oh, sorry. It's even stated here. Continuations over reversals. If I am looking for a buy here, that is a reversal. Right? This is how CBOSs work. CBOS continuation happens all the time. Yeah, we don't have enough. No. We don't have enough data to be considered bullish. Right? I would say I would be bullish if the bearish invalidation was met. So I would be bullish here if, right? So CBOS, right? I am not bearish. Like as of here, I am not bearish. I can't be bearish. There's no way for me to be bearish, right? But I'm also not bullish, right? Because I know that the external is technically bearish. That's why I'm saying I just because I'm not bullish doesn't mean I'm bearish, right? Like just because I'm externally bearish, I know that at least I'm not going to be bullish in these internal scenarios. That's how people get lost in smaller time frame. It's like if you don't have some type of base, right? Then I'm kind of just guessing the direction and I'm just trying to say, oh, break of structure, oh, break of structure, buy. No, that's too one-dimensional in my opinion. Um, but there is a very clear model in play here, which is the order flow disruption, but there is also an LG continuation, right? And technically my invalidation is up here, right? But I use this as my SL because it's a solidified point, right? That's the only way I don't use the external high is just if there's an internal solidified point. So yeah, I think you have some practicing to do, bro. I think you need to stop chasing reversals. Because I see it all the time and it's my biggest irk, bro. It's just seeing people trying to pick lows and highs because it may work out, but like the probability is way higher to catch a continuation like this, which this man is like a 2.5 to 1, right? But I'd rather catch these every day than catch one out of every 5 reversals, right? Yeah. Yeah, all of us are, bro. We love to learn the hard way, man. Welcome to the game. Like there's like I can even kind of I guess share that type of feeling, especially with business. With business, like I got burned last year because I was just trying to do too many things at once. And guess what? Like I learned the hard way, right? I know that now I only need to stick to, what I already know, what I'm already good at and stick to that and just do it over a long time, right? Rather than trying to do a bunch of things at once, because there's a fallacy of whoever hears the fallacy of like the richest people in the world have like 7 to 10 income streams, something like that. Has everybody heard that? I'm sure everybody's heard that before. It's such a fallacy. It's not true because most of these people got rich using one or two methods, and then they started investing into, X, 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 and X. So in total, it's like 7, 8, but they only started for the majority of their lives. They were only in one or two. Yeah. I'm gonna ask this. I feel ashamed of myself after all this time on RCV, but I can't see to improve my point of view on market direction. Could you please tell me how I can improve? Watch structure videos, bro. That's it. Structure, solidified points. That's it. And you got to back test as well. Like if you're not back testing, then you're kind of just winging it. And if you're winging it, then what do you expect? Like there's a reason why I still do these back tests every single day is solely because I don't want to lose my touch. like, for example, the back test I posted yesterday, like I still do, I want to do these every week, right? I just used to only do them on my time. I wouldn't really show you guys. I would just do it on my own time. But as kind of a way to keep myself accountable, I'll just show it to you guys as well. Just because I don't care what level you get at, just you can never, ever, right, lose that consistency, quit showing up, etc. Like these things are in our control. But yeah, the only thing that's going to help you with direction is understanding structure externally and trying to just formulate some type of bias using 3 levels of structure, which is usually there's usually 2 internal levels of structure and there's 1 external, right? Usually for me, right? Because for example, I don't really care for the swing bias if I'm scalping, you know? But if I'm scalping, I have to make sure that I'm taking scalp targets and I'm not taking intraday targets, right? Because if you go back to that trade scenario, the first one here, here, I think it's somewhere around here. Yeah, somewhere around here. Like if I'm taking a scalp model, I'm aiming for the scalp target, not the intraday target. Like this is what I mean with using liquidity, right? Is I'm not aiming for the X. I just want to make sure I'm in and out based on the type of trade that I'm taking. So if I'm taking a scalp trade, I have to take a scalp target. If I'm taking an intraday trade, then I have to take an intraday target, right? Because if I take an intraday trade on a scalp target, then the RR could be even less than 1, you know? So that's kind of all you can do, bro, is keep practicing. And also, I never get journals from you, bro. So I don't know what to tell you. Like, if I don't get journals from people and you're telling me you're not improving, fuck, like, what can I do? But yep, if you get your direction right, the scalping intraday is gonna work wonders for you, bro. Because you see CBOSs all the time. Like CBOSs occur all the time. And like now I see it being called like as inducement. I see it being called as internal range liquidity IRL. Like I'm seeing all this stuff and I'm like, wow, like we've been doing this for years, guys. Like, you know what I mean? Like this stuff works. Even if people are renaming it, I'm not saying that they're basing it off of me, but I'm saying that this stuff works. Right? Like people call this inducement continuation, right? Inducement continuation, right? Like see this all the time. But it's the same thing. It's just like after the transition occurred, um, here, right? We come into the high solidified, CBOS, continuation. This is the final sell down before the buy. The sell is mitigated and that continues higher. Like you see this all the time. You know what I mean? But yeah, let me see what this is. Anyway, sorry for the rant. Let's get through these charts, guys. Sorry. Oh, okay. Yeah, this was I think we talked about this on Zoom last week. We talked about this on Zoom last week where if this low was to have been broken, then we would have been taken out of the position that we went over last week. Yeah, if you guys go to last week's Zoom, we covered this. But this is kind of just the result of that. And I made a mistake and I shouldn't have put my stop profit here, right? I made the mistake of not using the solidified range, right? Because I shouldn't be moving my SL until after, right, the full range is taken, right? And why am I using this high and not this one? Because there is no CBOS until here. And that solidifies the previous high. So low, high, retracement, right? As long as this retracement breaks the high, then now this is my new invalidation, and now this is my stop profit. That was just kind of my mistake there. Next, I believe this was just a back test slash Duro. Okay. Okay. Order flow disruption here. The perimeter is here. Right. That continues higher. Right. This is kind of the same overview. It's just the same trade from Butte that I just showed you guys. But yeah, like I said before, low went too high. Right. That final move to the downside is mitigated, pushed up. Final move to the downside is mitigated and then pushed up. right? And then there's an internal here as well, the LGC, right? And this is an LGC because it is in alignment with the external, right? So there's an LGC, right? And that even broke full structure. So it really doesn't matter how you take your trade. I kind of just took it based on the final push down before up, and then that's there, right? And then that target would have been there, and that is met, right? So that's the review of the trade from last week. Next, I believe, oh, this was another loss too, I believe. Cool. So this loss, right? Who knows what's wrong with this trade? Anybody? What is wrong with this? Right, and this will add to your point, Valentin, with exactly. This is what happens when you don't use the external, bro. Because what I should have done, right, is we know that this is bullish. So I know that if liquidity is swept, then we have an LGC, then I could technically take a trade here, or I could just take the internal structural disruption, and that internal structural disruption, right, I guess would happen after this break here. Sorry, after this break here, because there is a CBOS, I believe here, unless I'm mistaken. But just in hindsight, that's what I should have done, right? Is look for some type of immediate continuation based on the external and not try to do, LG sell, it's gonna die now. Because from here, the external of this external, which this would probably be a minor intraday, the major intraday slash swing is technically bearish, right? But you see what I mean? Like that doesn't really matter here because we are studying the internals and we're setting targets accordingly. Like if I was to take a buy here, then I would be looking for this. You know what I mean? But yeah, once again, CBOS continuation, like, right, low into high, that's solidified here, right? Unfortunately, there wasn't no clear buy situation here, but it happens, right? Right, just because we take scalps and we see these opportunities kind of on a daily basis, that doesn't mean we have to trade every day. That's the point of the models, right? Because eventually you're going to have to get to a point where it's more so not taking scenarios rather than taking scenarios because you only want to take the high probability ones, and that's how you kind of scale up, right? Because obviously if I'm getting 2.5 hours all the time, then I don't know how you guys do your risk management, but I like to reset my account balance on my risk management after every trading day. That's kind of how I do it. And then I have my stop loss perimeters in place, kind of like I showed you guys a couple weeks ago. And if I'm consistently getting 2.5 hour, 2.5 hour, 2.5 hour, then it's going to multiply over time. If the external and internal are aligned, you're still targeting the scalp. No, I target the intraday. So for example, let's say there is a model here that is a scalp, then I'm not aiming for here. I more so aim for here. But it also depends. Like it depends on the time of day. It depends on which, on at what time I entered. Like there's a couple of things that also have to, come into place before deciding that. Let's see, next one. Yeah, this is the same view, right? So this is the mistake. Model is present, but does not fit the external. The external is bullish. That was my mistake there. See, it happens to even me. So okay, and this was the only opportunity I saw based on this, right? Because we were looking into high into low retracement, right? This low breaks the high, and then this would have been the only reasonable scenario that I could see. See, so like this scenario, I would aim for either a POI here or the high. It just depends also on the external, if I'm bullish or if I'm bearish, but those are the only two things that I would do. Next, I think this was another this is one of my trades, but this is AU. Yeah, just an internal LGC. This is one of those bread and butter, like I usually see these happen. Like if I see these happen, it's more than likely like almost this is as close to perfect as I think it's gonna get. And that's kind of a scenario where let's say we're externally bullish. And then we already have the bearish pullback, and then we have the transition, right? And then we now have the internal continuation, right? Like an LGC, let's say, and we have a perimeter here. This is almost always this is one of my almost close to perfect trades, is when the bias is aligned like this and there's like a model in play here, and the immediate target is there, right? But this is kind of like the inverse of that, right? Where we already saw the conversion, we already saw the move. I'm just seeing a type of model in play, and I'm taking, right, the full move. But yeah, this is bread and butter. You guys know this. This is bread and butter. Like this was taken 54 seconds, the 23rd, which was 3 days ago. Yeah, bread and butter. All right, does this make sense, guys, or do I need to elaborate on this? I think this is as cheese as it gets. Do we need to explain anything here? Does anything make sense here? Everything makes sense. This is also why I don't really move my stops too much. Right, you can see there's a reaction here. I do not let this reaction worry me. I do not let this worry me. Stick to the bias, right? Stick to the bias, stick to the plan, all right? So, does this all make sense, guys? Yes or no? Should I move on? Cool. Damn, I have a lot of markups, guys. I'm going to try to speed this up, guys. I'm not trying to take up too much of your time. Okay, here. What is this? EU OFD loss? Okay, sure. Yes, this is my OFD loss. Yes. Um, so what I had seen this day, I believe there was somebody that was buying this as well in the chat. And I took a loss here only because I tried to chase the reversal. There's an OFD because there's a present reaction, present OFD, and then that gave me a reaction. But like we said, this isn't enough of a reason for me to move to break even. This only moves my SL to here, right? So yeah, so my hindsight move would have been after the exit. I mean, the exit would have occurred after this invalidation. New invalidation would have been met, but I'm just chasing reversal, guys. This is why we don't do this. You see what I mean, Valentin? This is what we don't want to do. Does this make sense? Yeah, this is why you don't want to chase reversals. The external has to fit. All right, cool. And this was I believe this is the winner. Yeah, it was the winner. The issue here, right, was this is one of those cheese setups where I don't really, or where I didn't follow a model. Only because it kind of gets super cheese with these types of scenarios where I see solidified point, right? Structure, CBOS, CBOS solidifies the low. There is a turbulence point here. So I took my POI continuation. And also there is, I believe, an external low here. That's why I took the external target here. So this would be another example, Eddie. Like when we went, I think last week was it? When I went over that AU scenario where I could have aimed for the daily low rather than the scalp low. That's another scenario where I would have done that. I think if you go see the last week's Zoom, um, it was either last week or the week before that. I'm pretty sure it was last week. But yeah, this is one of those bread and butter. But I did not follow a model, so that is, bad on me. But as I tell you guys, if you guys are not following rules, it's only okay to not follow a rule if you have acknowledged that you have not followed the rule, right? Because I don't want to see a scenario where you don't follow the rules and you don't know why you lost. Right here, this is the model LGC, right? This is AU. Yeah, I named that one Solidified Point Continuation. This is an AU LGC. Right, so CBOS, external bearish, right? I have an LGC, then I know at the bare minimum I will get this, right? So this kind of textbook trade. So you guys see why I'm not really considering the intradays is because if I'm taking a scalp model, then I'm taking a scalp target. Oh, and then this is one of those drills where it's a drill, but it's a I don't even know how to put it, but it's basically I see reasons as to why I shouldn't take this move, but I see why people would. But I told myself it's an unjustified setup, so I would not take this move. And the result, right, was that it did not work. Right? You got a reaction here, but it did not work. Right? That's what happens when because this has happened to me for over the years so many times where we don't create a new low after it's solidified. Right? This is internal unwillingness. So I would really need I would need this to break in order to be bearish again. But if I break that, then I would more than likely break this too. And if I meet my target, then I'm not really looking for the trade anymore. So yeah, excuse me, after this failed reaction, I'm kind of just done. Like I didn't take this, so it was good that I didn't take it. So I named it if I don't take an unjustified setup, and that's also a win, right? Because less is more. No is yes sometimes. Next one. Let's see. Okay, I think this was my AU scenarios. Yeah, this was my AU scenario. I posted this on Twitter. We'll go over to the Twitter after I'm done. I'm just gonna try to speed through these last ones. I think there's only like a couple left. But this was that AU scenario that I told you guys about, right? This one. Uh, this one, right? Where we swept liquidity, that white line, that's what this is. White line, right? It's 7:39. It's 9 a.m. Which is 2 hours into New York. So, right, so my scenario here, right, is liquidity has been swept, and we also took the break of structure, meaning there is a liquidity grab here. And my very conservative entry, right, is based on the LG. And I'm taking the whole range because this is the final low that went into the high that took liquidity and then came down. So that's kind of why that perimeter is there. Let's see. Right, and then this would have been the entry. All right, this would have been the entry here. All right, and then after the entry, that's when we get the internal LGC, or you could even consider it a structural disruption. It kind of just depends on what view you're looking at. So I see the conversion here. All right, I see my perimeter and I see my SL at the invalidation. Right. So if this reaction then gives me a reaction, then I can now move my above SL to this SL. I cannot move this one just yet, but I can move the external into the internal. So now it's basically risk-free. But yeah, let's move on. Right. So the entry hit, and oh, this was a roller coaster of a trade. This is also why I kind of don't like swinging anymore. It's just it's so much stress at times, and I don't want to be glued to the charge. So I just kind of want to be in and out, in and out. That's just kind of what works with my personality. And there was actually an M1 POI. If you ever want to go back test, there's an M1 POI here. That's why I set my invalidation to the high, because we got the initial reaction. But I could have hedged. I was considering hedging here, and I'll tell you guys why. But actually, coming back, something I forgot to ask you guys is why do you guys think my target is here? Why is my target here? Who can tell me? Potential demand? Yeah, I don't really call it that. I just call it a POI. Yep, external is still bullish. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So there is potentially, right, a range from taking out the low into the high. So I don't know if the external, at the time, I don't know if the external was going to do something like that. You know what I mean? And there is a bearish SD here. So that's why I took that as my TP. But really, if I wanted to be very conservative, I could have used this entire region as a POI. Right? If I use this entire thing as a POI, then, it could also be another TP, but I'm also cutting a lot of my potential profit. So it's kind of like a give and take, right? Do I want to be a bit more aggressive with a deeper TP, or do I want to be conservative with the TP and just secure the profit that I'm given? It's a constant battle. It's a constant battle. Okay. But yeah, anyways, cool. I'm glad you guys saw that. Yeah, but the bullish structure externally is the reason why I took that TP here. So luckily for me, right, but this is why it's so important to use invalidations. It's so important because if I would have just taken the loss based on my POI, then that's a silly loss, man. It's a silly loss because it's in my control, right? So if I use my invalidations, right, rather than just using POIs as my perimeters, then more than likely over time, I'm going to win a bit more than I lose, all right, or in terms of the scenario, not in general. Um, So after, right, after this was broken, we now have order flow disruption here as well. But like I said, I could have bought here because of that external bias. And I don't know if this was going to be an LG as well. So it turns out it was a valid scenario. I could have edged here, and I would have gotten a reaction, right? So my invalidation could have been here, right? But this invalidation is still hasn't been met. So I now have a very low risk buy, and I still have my sell positions in. So eventually one of them is going to win. One invalidation is going to be taken, right? So that invalidation was then taken. That means now my new invalidation is here, right? So this position is slightly, some of the risk is slightly taken off, whereas this position is now like, I believe like, honestly, it's a full break even. Like even with commissions, it would be a break even, but it's literally at $0 profit. So it's a completely risk-free trade. But the second one, I would say it's like at a 0.8 risk percent of the original. But yeah, so here, this is nearing the end of the day. So I'm going to move my SL internally here, right? So this is technically not following the rules, but I'm doing that because of the time, right? The time, it's about to be 1 p.m. for me. Like, yo, like I'm not trying to be on the charts after 12. But if I am, right, then okay, I'm just going to try my stop loss. I'm either going to get my full profit, like I said here, my full TP, or I'm either going to get a stop profit, which would have been some profit, and at least any profit is worth my time, if I'm being honest, like rather than taking a loss, if I'm comparing it in that perspective. But we'll come back to that. But um, either my stop profit is going to hit because this is a solidified point, so I think the micro range should hopefully continue. Right, and then from here, new micro SR. So from here, the invalidation was not met. We created a new SR after the low was taken. And then here, you can see that there is another solidified point, right? There's some type of breaker structure internally. And so I'm trailing it here now, right? So either I'm going to get full TP or I'm going to get the stop profit, but I'm just trying to trail it now just to make sure that I don't lose or just to make sure that I'm out the trade, actually. I just want to make sure I'm out the trade, but I don't want to close early. Right, and luckily hit my TPE, right? Luckily. But yeah, that was the scenario, a fucking hell of a ride, but that's what happens when you try to sell bullish momentum, I guess. All right. I guess that's what happens. But yeah, we'll come back to this. These are just my final back tests from yesterday. Just like I said, I told you guys I'm looking for I'm trying to add this instrument to my trade list over the next year or so. So I'm just going to start looking at it and just kind of just looking at potential scenarios that could have worked out. So this would have been a back test. So here, I believe is if Andre's on the call, I believe Andre took this trade. Yeah, he's on the call. I believe you took this trade, right? You took this POI into the high or something like that. Let me move this out of here. But yeah, I believe Andre took this trade. I have no idea, but there was a clear POI. This you could technically be reaching for the high. I didn't reach for the high. I'll explain why here in a bit. But once again, it's the same thing as the AU trade. If my external here is bearish, then I have to aim for a bearish POI, right? So internally, there is a conversion, mainly because, right, there is technically, you could use this POI or this one, but the high of the POI is here, right? There is a clear reaction based on this line. There's a clear BOS there. Once that BOS is taken, then we now have the perimeter for the order flow disruption, and I'm aiming for the full extreme bearish POI because of the external direction. So that would have been quick. I believe this is like a 1 to 2. I think it was like 1.196 to 1 or something like that. It wasn't even a 2, I believe. But just like I said, just backtesting. If this would have been aligned with the external, okay, maybe excuse me. Maybe I could have reached for the high, and that would have made it over a 1 to 2. But for the most part, I like to take trades that are more than 1 to 2. And if I can even get a 1 to 5, I think that's incredible for one day's trade. Based on this style, of course. Next one. Right, this one was a really good one as well. This is a GU one that I was looking at. I think I did 2 charts on this one. Yeah, I did. So this was the scenario that I saw. It was within my perimeters. And there was I believe an LGC here, and then I just followed the order flow after that. Right, and there's an internal transition here, which we will cover. But this was, in my opinion, very, very good because the bias was painted right by a potential structural disruption. I'll show you guys why that's a structural disruption here. All right, so I considered it a structural disruption because we already know, right, a structural disruption is inherently a reversal. That's kind of why I don't take trades based on SDs. I kind of use that for my bias more so, because there's very clearly a bullish range, right? So if I'm looking low and too high, continuation, solidified, all right? Why? Because this solidifies the high, or this high, sorry. And we come into here, the CBOS solidifies the low. So if that is broken and that is broken again, then that is a structural disruption. So that inclines me to be bearish, at least for the short term. And that's exactly what happened afterwards. So this is the M15, right? So right, transition, LG1, but this one had no POI. There's no POI here, at least not on M1. And I'm not trying to take the 30-second POI. I just think that it needs to, I don't want to say that it needs to be perfect, but usually something is showing that something is working out, right? So, or usually a POI is shown, and most of the scenarios are actually like very clear in my opinion, right? If I'm trying to force somewhere for there to be a POI, I think I'm over rationalizing, and that's something I don't want to do with this stuff. Because I know the opportunities will continuously come. So if I miss a scenario, if I lose a scenario, it's whatever, because more than likely in the next day, 2 days, or next week, I will get another scenario. But yeah, so first LG did not have a POI here, right? And then the second LG, it was actually an LGC, which is now in alignment with the external because there's a structural disruption and there's a transition, and the transition occurred before the high. So this is unwillingness. So I know that I'm bearish internally. So 1 and 2, right? My POI here, this could have been a potential trade. Was not a trade, but this would have been, honestly, I have no issues with this trade. Excuse me. That would have been broken even there. And this, you could very easily aim for the low as well, and that would have been very high risk reward. Excuse me. But right, the second LG, this is the second LG2, sorry. Right, like I said, I have no issues with that trade. Next, LG3 needs a conversion. Why does it need a conversion? Because there is a bullish break, meaning internally we are bullish. Right, internally, this is a bearish to bullish transition. Right, and the internal transition means that we are now bearish internally. This is the new invalidation, because if this breaks, then more than likely the POI will break eventually. Right, so this is why I follow continuations, because these micro transitions will work out if it's aligned with the external. Because if I'm only looking at this from a micro, right, then my target should be here. Right, if I'm only looking at this picture here. But because we have the transition, we have the external SD, it's fair for me to aim for the low. Right, so this would have been my trade scenario. And there was even a very conservative entry after that, after the break here, this this POI here. Honestly, my invalidation would have been up here. And this would have been another sick trade here, very conservative, and it would have been directly into profit. You know what I mean? Directly into TP, sorry. No pullbacks, nothing. That's when I think you have a perfect trade, is when your entry goes directly to the target. I think that shows that you were correct with almost everything that you're doing for that scenario. Sorry, for that scenario. So that worked out. And afterwards, you can see, right, the final push up here. Right, there's a final push up to then clear the sell move. That's buy is then mitigated, continued. Right, so that covers that one. Right, and I think this is a very good trade. Like I said, if you get a 1 to 5 using this type of style, oof, yeah, that's very good in my opinion. Yeah, 1 to 6, I think that's incredible. At any risk profile, that is incredible. 1 to 6, because we're doing this in a span of 30 minutes. You know what I mean? That's incredible. And we'll come back to that. And then the last one, EU LGC, very easy, to the point. I believe me and Sean were looking at this yesterday. This was yesterday. Yeah, this was yesterday. Right. Externally bearish. CBOS, LGC. This solidifies the high. That's why that's my invalidation. Right. I take my POI, invalidation, external TP. Right. Any questions here? This is textbook. I don't think I need to go over this again, but does this make sense, guys? Yeah, this is textbook, man. This is textbook. But yeah, guys, I'm trying really hard to try to make this very, very digestible. And I think the recent changes with the approach, like I've kind of adapted this approach. I think you guys have noticed. I think I started this kind of like around July, August, trying to adapt this new style. And that's when I started introducing the efficiency concept. What do you guys consider the efficiency concept to be? I talked about it on Twitter yesterday. I can go ahead and do that. Okay, hold on. Let me log in really quick while you guys answer that question. Okay, cool. Cool. I'm gonna try to be really active on here. I'm trying to find a balance between giving out stuff for free, because obviously I want to grow the brand, obviously. And now that the courses are free, I'm kind of not really inclined to keep a secret for most of the stuff that we're doing. And then the main point of the Discord, or the main point of these calls, is the maintenance side, is fixing up the internal struggles that any people may be facing, whereas the education is basically free now. But yeah, the main thing that I was talking about with the efficiency is here. If you guys didn't read it, go read it. But let me pull up the chat. Okay. Yeah, so with the efficiency concept, I don't think anybody answered. That's fine. Efficiency is, if I am efficient with my trading, then especially with my scalping, that's why I chose scalping over anything, is that I'm getting the most return over the time spent, right, than I am, or that over the time spent in the charts. And the reason why that's important is because everybody has 24 hours, right? But we don't have 24 hours of bandwidth, right? It's impossible. Nobody can operate on 24 hours of bandwidth every day. That's impossible, right? So we only have very limited deep work in us. I believe it's like 4 to 6 hours of deep work is usually what everybody has on a specific day or on a day-to-day basis. It can be increased a bit using certain tactics, but I haven't really dove into that too much. But the bandwidth that we have is limited. So I'm not trying to see how limited or how not limited my bandwidth is. I just want to make sure that I'm capitalizing on the bandwidth that I'm using during the X amount of time. So that's also why originally I don't really like to trade Mondays and Fridays. I might consider Fridays. I still don't want to do Mondays. I might consider Friday just because of how the style is now and I can be in and out quick. But when it comes to the efficiency stuff, it's just I want to make sure I capitalize on the bandwidth that I have for the specified amount of time. So if let's say if the argument here in this entire case, right, was based on my trade that I showed you guys, the AU trade, right? If I was to have looked for, let's say, an external target, right? Let's say I was looking for this target, right? Then at the time of this trade, my scenario would have broken even, right? So that means that over the 12 hours, right? Here, this is about 12 and a half hours, I would have gotten a break even, right? So yes, I may not face, a big loss monetarily in terms of commissions, in terms of spreads, in terms of swaps. But I would have suffered, a loss of 12 hours of time. Like people don't like, and then it goes even beyond. Sorry, guys, 1 second. Sorry, guys. My headphones just died. Give me 1 second. Like the speaker. Cool. That's fine. Okay, we can just finish it like this. Yeah, so like I said, we are wasting 12 hours of time, but it's also so much stress. Like, imagine I was still in this trade and I'm seeing this start to pull back on me and I'm trying to over rationalize why this is going to continue lower, but then it doesn't. And then I just fucks up the psychology. You know what I mean? Like, it's so much stress, man. It's so much stress, unnecessary stress that we put on ourselves. And I don't care who you are, that feeling that you get whenever you're trading or whenever you're in a position, that will never fully fade, right? You will always feel some type of way when you're in the trade. And that I think it's just due to the uncertainty that we don't know what's going to happen. But because of that, I just want to be in and out, right? I think that's what best fits me as an individual, me and my trading. So rather than trying to hold the trade for months, right, I'm trying to take quick trades, quick wins, quick losses. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's exhausting, bro. It's so exhausting. Like, and if that happens a couple times in a row, oof, like I'm pretty sure you don't even want to look at a chart, bro. Like if I'm gonna lose, man, I want to know quick. You know what I mean? I want to know ASAP. So that's why I do these intradays, these scalps. Like even this intraday was a fucking it was a whole ride, you know what I mean? But it is what it is. All I can do is put a sell out invalidation, set a quarterly TP, execute only with a model, and bingo. That's all I can do. And manage my risk, of course. All right, but I have some cool topics coming up on here. So if you guys want to support the Twitter, that would be really cool. But other than that, that's all I got for today. It's been 2 hours, guys. It's been 2 hours. So I don't know if you guys have any questions, concerns. I'm happy majority of you stayed. All right, and as I say that, someone leaves. Yeah, I'm trying to blow this stuff up, man. Like I've been in this Twitter rabbit hole for probably like 3 weeks. It's so toxic, man. It's so toxic. It's just a dick measuring contest, if I'm being honest. Like everybody just wants to say somebody else is wrong. I'm right. Buy me, buy my stuff. Don't buy his stuff. His stuff is shit. My stuff is better. Bro, what? It's BS, man. It's just nonsense. But yeah, this is why we stay in our own lanes. This is why we focus on our stuff and control what we can control. The rest is extra. Doesn't matter. No, it's cool, bro. It's cool. Don't worry. Don't worry. But yeah, it's time to try to make you guys into some profitable traders, and you guys will be my testimonials, right? If we look at the group now after the transition, there's like 80 members in total, and I believe like 10, almost 15 of them. I think it's like 13 right now, are EVs, right? And EVs, you can only become an EV if you've shown me that you're profitable, and I have the criteria. So that's a very good ratio, if I'm being honest, right, of having profitable and unprofitable guys in one group. And I mean, it only took 5 years, right? Yeah, that's the goal. Because we just don't know. Like, this is also why I'm also trying to push this stuff. This is why I'm putting the stuff on YouTube. This is why I'm also going to post more stuff on YouTube. Like, I hope you guys don't mind with me like posting this stuff now. Like, I don't think it matters if I'm being honest, because at the end of the day, the information is more than likely already out there, interpreted in a different way. But I'm very, very like active with everybody in the group, and I don't think many mentors out there are like that. Like, people will openly say that they don't want like a lot of students because it's tiring, and I'm like, meh. It's semi tiring, I would say, but I have everything kind of organized, that you guys can only send me journals during this time, right? We can discuss everything on Zoom, so everything is kind of controlled, right? And as long as as long as you're consistent, then you will see some type of progress. That's why Lewis is seeing results after, fuck, what is it, 3 years? You know what I mean? I realized that it takes time, but I also realized that the industry is still so small. Like, we don't know where this industry can go. We have no idea. Like many people that I've seen that are actually profitable, like on Twitter and stuff, their pages are so small, and it's just like, then there's accounts like ICT that are like at 1 million, right? And ICT has been known to be like a straight up like maybe his concepts work, right? I don't study his concepts. Like, if you look at his stuff, you look at my stuff, they're completely different, if I'm being honest. Um, But this guy was even, he was known for posting a fake withdrawal like a couple of years ago, but people forgot about that, right? And he's still at 1 million subs. So it's not to bash on him, but I'm saying, like, we don't know where this industry can go. We don't know how big it can get. You know what I mean? And who's to say that, the investment space, the real trading space, right, is not, or this industry is not normalized with that, right? Because just a couple of conversations I've had, like, where technical analysis is seen as like a maybe taboo thing. I don't want to say taboo, but it's very shamed upon in that industry. But it's slowly becoming normalized, right? So that means that we're in this industry at the perfect time. So that's why I want to see you guys become profitable. I then want to see you guys build personal brands. That's kind of what I've been talking with some of the EVs. Because if you build a personal brand off of this, the sky's the limit. You can make a killing, man. You can make a fucking killing. And it doesn't have to be teaching, right? Like, let me tell you, teaching today, if I was to start teaching today, it wouldn't be worth it. But because we're already in this, I think it's completely worth continuing. Trading firm. I don't know, bro. That's now the only issue with that is like the compliance, and honestly, man, I don't want to go back to school. Like, I don't want to do licenses. Like, no, I wanna enjoy. I want to find a way to just buy cash flow over time, and just kind of go do my own thing. That's kind of like the goal. Even if I'm still always active on Discord, like, I just want to go do my own thing. I don't want to go back to school, man. Like, the thought of that just gives me a headache. The new platform business is interesting to see how it will affect the trading industry going forward. Yes, but there will be eventually there has to be a cap, because the model will only work if traders keep losing, you know? So I think prop firms, at least the model right now, is going to be a temporary thing. Unless prop firms begin to kind of do what Fivers and what FTMO do, and let's say they have one income stream with all obviously the challenges, and they pay out based on the amount of money from the losers. But if they also put the losers like in a type of market maker environment, then they can trade against them, right, using the money that they made from the challenges, and they can profit from there as well. And mathematically, that will help them sustain themselves over time. Yeah, yeah, because they're now covering themselves because they're making money from the challenges, and they're making money from the losers, not just from the challenges, but also by trading against them. So I see that being a method of how they sustain themselves over time. But oh, there's so much money in that, man. There's millions of dollars in that. And I can't bring myself to running a business like that. I just think it's not the best morally. I'm capitalizing on people losing, right? Like, and I have to hope that they lose in order for me to win. You know, it's just, whereas a real propriety firm is the point of that is to give you capital and make money from, you know, the split, right? But profit splits in prop firms for FX is total bullshit. They're just finding an excuse not to pay you your full amount. Yeah, stuff comes in trends, bro. Stuff comes in trends. Like I'm trying to work on something in the background that's not a prop firm. And if that works out, I think this is the perfect time, like I said. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, other than that, that's kind of all I got for today. Unless you guys have some case studies you guys want to go through. Let's see what happened today. Actually, I not looked at the charts today. I believe we said something wasn't gonna work. Oh, it did work, but it didn't reach. This is what we were saying. But if this sell would have been to this target, cool. Mm, cool. Yeah, honestly, I think this is gonna keep going bearish, man. Like, I think this is keep going bearish. Like, yeah, I hope this keeps going bearish. Like, I think DXY is gonna moon, if I'm being honest. Like, I've not been bearish on this at all, at least from the overall scheme, right? Like, this is the only thing we talked about last week with the 3-day, right? If we're looking at this, and the reason why that's important is because look at the macro, you know what I mean? The macro is bullish. You know, that's why I want to be bullish on DXY. Um, yeah, I think we can still go higher. This is gonna be the breaking point though. This is gonna be the pretty much the telltale sign if we're gonna be bullish or bearish. Right? It's the reactions in here that's really gonna dictate next week. Um, but yeah, like order flow is still bearish, right? Like here, it looks like a deep retracement on high momentum. That's why I wouldn't consider this completely bullish. That's why I would want to see reactions here. But with EU, there's clear high low retracement. But yeah, I want to see this continue. S&P ATH again shortly. Sure. Sure. I agree. The order flow here is very clean, bro. It's very clean. Like today, right? Today, just today alone. There's very clear liquidity, LGC because we were bullish. So the perimeter, right? And the TP here. So yeah, it's very nice. Sorry, last thing. Almost a 1-2. Yeah, see, like yesterday's move. I could have sold here. Invalidation at the high. That would have came back down here. Invalidation after the SD here. And profit. Conversion, unwillingness, conversion, high risk buy here. And then LGC. But yeah, cool. Any questions, guys? I've been on here for like 2 hours. Cool. What about this? What am I looking at? Yeah, it would be because of the OFD. And you have to aim for here because we're externally bullish here. So yeah, this is a good one. This one, not so much. Yeah, I'm gonna hop off after this one too. But yeah, this one, first trade, extremely aggressive. CBOS, this could just continue. But second one, there is a clear OFD, entry, TB. But yeah, I'm really liking this method just because it's very easy to control in my opinion. Oh, excuse me. It's very easy to control. Yeah, so much less stress. Like, but it's also like I feel like I feel like we should know it's almost clear where the direction is going if we read the intentions right. Because this entire style, right, like I said in the group, the name I've given it is like transitions. That's it, transitions. Um, because that's what we're doing is we're studying reactions, we're studying transitions of price, and we're trying to catch models that are based on both of those two things. In and out. Yep, in and out. I want to lose quick, I want to win fast. Same thing. Yep, exactly. And that's why you can leverage prop firms now. Like you don't need to take more than I would say three scenarios, no more than five, right? Even if you're just starting, there's no way you should take more than five scenarios a day. If you're trading like two pairs, let's say, and you're trading over the all of New York session. Or if you're trading even London and New York, I don't recommend doing that. I recommend choosing one. But if you can trade both, I'll power to you, brother. I'll power to you. Um, but yeah, even if you take five trades on a risk on a risk of let's say anything below 0.5% per risk on a prop firm, you will never reach the daily drawdown limit unless you get slipped and you get fucked. But that would be something that doesn't, that doesn't happen too often. You can trade both London and New York. I mean, you can trade both, bro, but that's like 10 hours. You know what I mean? Like that's 10 hours looking at a screen. Like I'd rather just limit that to one. Because honestly, if I could trade London, I would probably trade London more than New York. That's just me though. I don't just because I said that doesn't mean that you have to do it, but just look into it. Look into which time zone works the best. Okay, cool. See, that's fair. That's fair. So 12, I think 12 to 2 is too limited, bro. Um, I think 2 hours is too limited because like I said, I don't like if I'm trading 7 to 11, most of my executions come after New York Open, which is 7:30. Um, And like even like the trades like this week, they were all like in between 8 and 9 a.m. Up until 10. So that would have been 12 to 3 p.m. your time. So that's why I set a 4 hour window and I only trade one session. So I think it's the good mix of the two. Yeah, lots of opportunity. There's always lots of late New York opportunities, especially with this model, because usually we could let the New York Open or let's say a news event kind of dictate the bias and we just catch the continuations after that. That's all that matters is figuring out how to win. That's it. Figure out how to win. Everything matters after that. If you don't know how to win, risk management won't save you. Yep. Just try to find I would say a 3 to 4 hour period. If it's 2 3 hour periods, then that's fine too. Right? Like for example, like with you, if you're trading London Open, which is at 7, you could do 7 to 10 and then take a 2 hour break, go to the gym or something, and then come back for New York Open, 12 to 3, and then bingo. Do that 3 to 4 days a week, you're fine. Yeah, yeah. I just don't want to let this one week like affect the whole model, you know? Cool. But yeah, guys, I gotta hop off. I'm exhausted. This is the longest call we've done in a while, so I'll try to upload this soon. So, um, Yeah, other than that, let me know how the quality was on the review. I mean on the when it's on the website, because this is recorded from Zoom. Last week I did it on just the OS QuickTime. And I'm gonna try one more solution next week. And I hope that that solution is the one, but let me know how the audio is, let me know how the video is, and I'll see you guys next week.